AJ Howell here with Eastern football head coach Aaron Best. Coach, it's bye week. What does that look like for you?
I know it's not an off week.
Right.
That was a message to the team on Saturday that they're both three-letter words spelled totally different. This is not an off week, it's a bye week. So a little bit of everything, a little bit of self-scout from a football standpoint, a little bit of recruiting for coaches, and a little bit of prep for Idaho. So that's from the football world. 2 volleyball games and a football game as a father. And then hopefully a couple dinners with the wife at home. So from a non-football standpoint, I wouldn't say catching up because we got 25 years of catching up to do football season, but it's a little bit of both. So getting out early to get home. I want those coaches to enjoy their family time because we only get one of these usually a year. Happens to be in the middle of the season. So we've done this for 6, bye for 1, and then we're off for 6. So, but it's not off. A lot of people think the bye week is off, that you clear your slate and go out and hit the dimpled white ball for Monday through Friday. I mean, no, it's still we've got a ton of work to do.
Okay, that brings me to a question I've always wanted to ask you. You had the 3-letter word off week, bye week thing locked and loaded. You always have like a saying or something locked. You always have an answer when we throw a question your way. Where does that come from?
Probably a little bit to do. My mom's is a retired art teacher, so I'm a little bit abstract thinker. I try to honestly think as my kids would think, or my players would think, or as the coach. What is the response that I will get? What is the next question that I might get even after they got most or much of the answer? Some of it's repetition, but nothing scripted. I mean, there's nothing scripted. I just don't believe in bringing a notepad and reading off a pad to give a message because it's not hard.
Okay.
No, those are questions. That's not a delivery. But when you're delivering a message, I think it's got to be heartfelt.
Yeah.
There's some that over the years I haven't been proud of, and I get a lot of boos from the congregation. And but they're all real. They're all in the moment. They're all heartfelt. And they're from the heart. So I think messaging is important. How you message. If you do it the same all the time, that can get stale. Yeah. So how do you attack the same thing with different approaches? And it probably is my education here at East Washington University to be a teacher. How do you get all 30 people in the classroom go in the same direction? And you're not going to be able to just have one message and everybody follows. So on my toes, love thinkers, love hard workers. I love me some banter. I grew up with banter in sports and outside of sports, and so we try to keep the mood light, keep people on their toes.
Okay, so you mentioned you're not golfing this week. That's not what this is for. For those other
love to.
I was going to ask for the other 6 months of the year. Do you have hobbies?
Oh, I think that's one thing. I don't know what age, but coaches seem to coach forever, and even up to about 10 or 15 years ago. I mean, you see. Some of these coaches have coached for 40 and 45 and 50 years. That's the one thing I ask myself is, what kind of hobbies do they have outside of football? And usually here, guys have been in the profession or gals in the profession, they want to stay competitive. They want to stay young. They want to be around young to provide themselves some young moments. To each its own. That's not why I don't do this to stay young. I do this to teach and mentor. I do have hobbies. I love, my sanity is hanging out with my wife and kids. I wouldn't say I get a lot of TV time, but when there is downtime and there is weekend lazy days on the weekends, the few that we have off, we do, my wife and I have shows, kids and the family have shows. And I do love, I love to golf. And obviously in this climate, you don't get it 12 months out of the year. You get it about 6 to 8, depending on the weather. That kind of keeps my sanity. The phone is down and off. I get 5 hours usually with some social interaction, a little bit of smack talk, some good shots and some usually not so good shots. But it keeps you coming back. That's the beautiful thing about being at Eastern Washington University and the FCS level in a small town is I feel like I could be a dad. I could be a husband. I can be a father, I can be a coach, and I can be an individual. Like you kind of hit all areas, and I can actually take part in life outside of the X's and O's. So that is really, really rewarding to be able to not be around as much as we'd like to be, but the fact that I can go 15 minutes down the road and watch a volleyball match, get back to work and work for another 3 hours, or go to a JV game when Tank was a ninth grader, and come back to the office and work for 3 or 4 hours because the proximity is so close. You have to take those opportunities, and my goal is to be tired by the end of the day, every day. If that's the case, then I think I've done it right. Wake up and do it again the next day. So I try to go to bed really, really tired, knowing that I spent myself during the day.
So that brings me to another question. A couple years ago, maybe, I'm not exactly sure, and I wasn't there for this, so maybe I've heard the story wrong. But at a press conference, one of your daughters was there, and someone gave her the opportunity to ask a question of you. And her question was something along the lines of, what has made you choose Eastern for such a long amount of time, almost 30 years at this point that you've spent in Cheney? Funny to hear that from your daughter, I'm sure, but what's the answer to that?
I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. It's simple in nature. East Washington University gave me my opportunity to chase Division I football and my education degree. I set out to be a high school teacher, number one, and coach multiple sports at the high school level, number two. Teaching's in my blood. Both my real father and my real mother are both teachers, retired teachers. So I think it was born into me a little bit. So the opportunity to play at the highest level that I was recruited at, wasn't highly recruited, but also to arguably go to the school that has the best secondary education department in the mid-'90s was really appealing to me. So when everybody says you have to speak it into existence, this wasn't supposed to be my journey, it just ended up being my journey. And I found teaching in a different way. I love the people, I love the logo, I love the traditions, I love the challenges. I embrace all of that stuff, knowing it wasn't going to be easy taking over for Coach Baldwin, knowing that he put this program and this department in the national spotlight for 9 years, from 08 to 2016. So a lot of people would maybe curl and walk away from an opportunity that the standard would set so high. There's been some really good moments during our journey in 9 years since Coach B has departed. There's been some low moments too, but that comes with the territory of sports, and you got to be able to handle everything. And it takes a team. It's a we mentality, not a me mentality.
Throughout that time, you said it, some high highs and some high lows, high highs, low lows. What is it like mentally going from, over the course of a couple years, national honors, being recognized as a coach, and then, fans, people acting like they're coming for your job?
The two best examples I can give you are both at home. You get home and the dogs don't know how your day went. You walk in the door, they bark just like anybody, and then you walk in the door and they jump on you because they know who you are. And I used that analogy a couple months ago in team meetings, that the guys on the team that do have dogs, like, they're excited to see you. So you get lost in what happened during that day, especially not a great day, whether it's on a Saturday or on a Tuesday. You get lost in that. They don't know what happened. They don't care what happens. Much like your kids and your wife. You're not defined. People want to define you by wins and losses. It doesn't make you a better player, better person because you have more wins. To do things with integrity, knowing that sport is going to have winners and losers. Yes, we all want to win. We're preparing to win, but so is the other team. And it's inevitable in football. There's going to be a winner and a loser at the collegiate level. We've had our fair share of wins, but that doesn't make me a better person or a better coach. We simply scored more points that game. Talent plays a ton in production, in wins, coaching moments, management of a team, luck. Staying injury-free. There's so many variables to, the baseline of wins and losses that I think a lot of people overlook. It hurts me twice as much as maybe some Eagles that are sitting at the 50-yard line when things don't go our way, because they actually get to watch these kids perform week in and week out, month in and month out, year in and year out, and it's not just 6 Saturdays a year. It's actually 6 days a week for the most time, all year long. And so I think the recognition of knowing that the coaches and players are given everything we have, and we still may fall short, but we can't be result-oriented all the time, because that's easy to get caught up in. Wins don't equal greatness. Wins just equal wins. Losses don't equal awfulness. It just means there's losses. It's tough, but I tell you, when we get those victories, not even on Saturdays, when you see those guys walk the stage, when you see guys get appointed for academic excellence or all league honors, whatever have you, I mean, and just seeing the biggest smile puts on my face when someone at the end of their journey here, eligibility and academically, get done, and someone tells me, you told me you were going to take care of my son. You told them you would treat them as if they were your son. That's much deeper and more heartfelt than any win that we could accomplish.
You know, there's a lot of like immediate gratification, obviously, in society right now, and you could make an argument with how the transfer portal is and all of that as well. You talked about, you know, what results-oriented things are not always the number one priority, but when does that work itself into the conversation?
I think it's always in the conversation. I think, again, here's one of my one-liners. Numbers don't lie, but they don't tell you everything. They don't. Everybody wants to stop at the numbers and say, see, I told you so. You know, there's a lot of examples out there when you talk about numbers. Well, you could be fooled. All of a sudden, in our game, if you have a ton of points but a ton of turnovers, you could lose the game even scoring a ton of points. There's a lot of layers below some of those numbers. I think it's always an evaluative tool for sure. What type of resources someone has, how long they've been there, what kind of progression they've made, what kind of connection to their team, from myself to all the coaches on campus. I think there's a lot of layers that are outside of the wins and losses that do need to be evaluated and looked at and talked about to find out the big picture, the holistic picture. But if you're only doing it on wins and losses, you might miss a good one, or you might have a bad one that's winning a ton of games. I mean, there's a lot more to it than just, like you said, scoring more points or creating more turnovers or having better red zone defense.
I think before the first one of this season, I asked you if you were discouraged at one point, and you said no, and listed a lot of reasons. But one of the things that you said is that you alluded to believing in the athletic department, the administration, all of that. Can you kind of quantify that? What is it that you ground your belief in this?
Well, I think if you get too caught up in sport, I mean, week in and week out, you could be on the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. You got to kind of find an equilibrium a little bit and a landing spot. Having been part of essentially 2 presidents and interim president as head coach and 3 athletic directors, you know, trying to find the right amount of footing and traction. Once you gain some traction with one, it doesn't mean you start there with the next one. And so I just, the belief in Bill Chase giving me the opportunity to lead this prestigious program after the 16th season going into January 17 is a day I'll never forget. I mean, just goosebumps and butterflies and the whole nine. And then soon to find out a year later, he, you know, takes off and what he where he's still out posted at University of North Dakota as a director of athletics. And so then Lynn Hickey comes on. So you feel like you've maybe gained some traction. You're meeting new faces. You're meeting new people. She's got a new cabinet. You know, the school obviously is part of our attraction as well, not just the athletic department. We got to work hand in hand. But the vision of Tim Collins coming in, kind of shedding a big, solid, in a lot of ways neutral but bright ray of light on this department is what I think this department needed. You know, there's a lot of talk, and talk is just talk, but he's trying to put that stuff behind us and keep our eyes forward and our ears closed. We've made major headway. We've got a long ways to go. By no means do we have what we want, but we have what we need, and we got to do as much as we can with what we need.
Bringing it to this season, you guys have obviously experienced some shakeups as far as, just the quarterback position as an example. There's obviously been many other important injuries and things that have taken place, but this situation of having an option of multiple guys and that being removed at times and kind of finding your footing at a point in the season where I'm sure you hoped things were in more of a flow. Does it remind you of any other year from your coaching experience here? Is there a year that you kind of pull from?
Well, I'll press pause on that question. I'll go back to my most memorable year here was 2011. Started 0-4 after national title. Everybody thought the sky was falling, except for us, except for the people that were actually coaching and playing after a phenomenal year the year before. A lot of people say, boy, the national title year wasn't your most memorable year. No. We had 7 or 8 offensive linemen that were healthy the entire year, and probably 3 or 4 should have been at Big Sky caliber level, but we had to play 5 at a time. So we had to convince ourselves. We called each other the ragtags. That's what we called each other because that's all we have. That's all we need. So we almost had a convincing that this is all we have. We have 8 bodies. We're not traveling 10 like normal. We have 8, and we got to play 5 of you. But 3 or 4 of you are capable at the level we need to. And so as coaches, we did as much as we could to kind of putty that up and glue whatever we could glue up. And obviously the quarterback behind us was a Walter Payton Award winner that year, so that helped things. But that was my most memorable year. It's a little bit different in the chair of head coach, where we're never where we want to be. We always want to be better, but it's not just the wins and losses. We want to be more healthy. We want to tackle or miss less tackles. We want to throw the ball for more yardage. We want to have more yards per carry. We want to get more receivers the football. We want to have more TFLs. There's a lot of things we want more of. But we also have 11 peers in this conference as well. And so they have a lot to do with our successes or our non-successes too. They have coaches, they have players, they've got 100 plus on their roster as well. And what they do and how they do it is how they do it. So I wouldn't compare it necessarily to any other year that we've had. We certainly, there are certain games that are in parallel to other games in my career where didn't have one like we had last week where we fumbled the ball at the half-yard line going up 15. Instead, we're up 8 and they get the ball at the 20-yard line, no timeouts, just under 2 minutes left. So there have been a lot of firsts here at Eastern Washington University football, but there's still more out there, and I found one on Saturday. But when there is a first, having been here for a total of 30 years and been a part of a lot of different situations and scenarios, it's probably a unique situation. So the league has gotten immensely better than it was 10 years ago. Top to bottom, this league, there's no weeks off. There's 0 weeks off, where that wasn't the case 10 to 12 years ago. And the followers that have followed us for 15 or 20 years that know what the Big Sky landscape is like would probably echo the same things. If you just jumped on board 6 or 8 years ago, you have no recollection of 2008 or 2011 or 2014. So that has a lot to do with it too. We got to stay ahead of the game and be on the cutting edge as much as we can in this department at this school.
Did last week offer any clarity moving forward in that position?
I think we all know that Nate Bell has been pretty productive at the quarterback position. We're going to do what's best for the team. We've got, I would say, 2 clear-cut guys that can run the offense. I think we've been a little bit more efficient with 2 back there. I think we'd all agree, even if 15 were to be in the room, he would say the same thing. But we also know 15 is one of our better football players on this team. So how do we juggle the fact that one of your best players plays a position that another player plays, and you only play one of those behind center at least, without convoluting the offense to forcing ourselves to do something that might not be the best for what the team is. So we're taking the bye week. We're gonna have some conversation. We're gonna do some self-scouting like we talked about, get the guys on the road, come back Sunday and Monday, and kind of see where we go for the next 6. It's not going to be one game at a time. Whatever we decide going forward, based on the data that we have, is where we'll sit for the next 6 games. But without a doubt, Nate is a game changer. He's a playmaker. He makes things happen, and we'd like to, whoever's back there, give them more protection to be more productive. And so that's the biggest, like post game on Saturday. That's the biggest gap we've got to kind of close as we go when we get a time the next 6 weeks.
30 years, almost.
It's called 3 decades.
Okay.
That sounds less than 30.
I was gonna say that sounds more dramatic.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think so.
Perspective.
Yeah. We can disagree, but we can still support
Absolutely.
what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Absolutely.
In that time, best lunch place in Cheney,
Best lunch place in Cheney.
specifically. And also, how do you not have some like best, like your stamp of approval on, how has that not come about over these past few years?
Well, the first thing I would say is, as a head coach, I eat way less out. I'm a leftovers guy now as
Okay.
head coach. So whatever doesn't have a name, the house rule is if you have a name on something in the fridge, you can't take it. So if any of the kids have a name on something in the fridge, it's untakeable.
And why is the shift as head coach make you a leftovers guy?
And good segue. So as a position coach, I always felt that we were always around the offices. When you're here 16 hours a day, sometimes 17 hours a day, it was always a chance to get out. You ask the bigger kid where the best place to eat, obviously.
Okay, putting words in my mouth here.
Absolutely I am. Absolutely I am. But you usually trust the bigger kids sometimes for where to
I'm
grab
not
at.
saying anything about that.
I don't, the staple, without plugging anybody, has been Rosa's since I got here in 1996, and cheese bread and the ranch to go with it. I don't know which is better, but they're a deadly combination. Has been the same, and even a guy like Michael Ruse has stayed 45 minutes away and had it delivered to his hotel, just cheese bread and ranch. That it's so wanted, and so we've laughed about that. But I would say that's probably the staple.
What is something that you love about this team that's different from all the other seasons, or most of them at least, of Eastern football? And what do you think? Because we all have our guesses on like this age of college athletics of what the biggest struggle is. But what do you think the toughest thing is about this year of football over the course of Eastern athletics?
The toughest thing is for the course of athletics for Eastern Washington University?
Right now, the high and the low about this season.
Okay, from let's go high first.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of this team. They want to be coached. They don't fight coaching. Now, it ain't all perfect. It ain't all perfect. And trust me, sometimes have to be repeated multiple times, but they are willing to absorb coaching. They don't fight coaching. They believe in themselves more. They believe in their teammates more. They believe in their coaches more. They believe in the coaching. And I think results drive some of that believability. So that's probably the high. That going out there every day, whether it's a special teams drill or it's a goal line drill, they want to be coached. They are going to peak at some time in their career collectively because they believe in each other. The landscape for us, simply for us, is probably the retention piece of players, not knowing that when we talk in July as coaches, your roster is going to be changed, and that always was the case. How much it's changed is, I guess, the new norm. So projecting whether it's coaches or players, what that looks like and how much that's going to turn over, and that's not unique to us. But we don't have some of the means and some of the resources, some of the teams that we face in our league, or the teams that are gonna reach out to our student athletes. My approach to that with our players is just make sure in any situation that you're not lied to. Do not lie to my kids. I am very protective of my kids because once you go in, our policy here, my policy is portal, you go in as an Eagle, you don't come back out as an Eastern Washington Eagle. So do your homework, make sure you're talking to the right people. the correct people and make sure those things are substantiated what you're hearing to make the best decision, so you don't get or things don't go sideways 2 weeks after you made a decision you thought was going to be different. But I would say the retention of guys, I think that's got to be our next step, is guys that want to be here. And it's crazy to say that 15 years ago, I never would have thought I would be in this position today, for us to be able to pay players money to retain them, especially the ones that want to stay and be here, that are influenced by, let's be honest, sometimes big dollars. That's hard to go up against, but that's the reality. People make decisions for different reasons, and I'm only going to educate people. I'm not going to influence people. I told Afton Chisholm, I got two things for you. I got an I love you, and I got a hug. That's what I got. But he knew that, and he believed in us. He wanted to finish what he started, and it doesn't make him better than the next person. It doesn't make the next person worse than him. It just, that's his situation. Regardless of anybody's opinions, that's what he chose to do. And again, if you're organic, real, and authentic, you got to let the chips fall where they may. Like, I'm not going to be bitter because someone leaves, and I'm not going to be happier because someone stays. Their decision is their decision. Much like when they choose the college out of high school. If I'm bitter they went somewhere else, that's their journey. I don't know what's best for them. They, at that point, may not know what's best for them, but they chose the institution they're going to because they felt like, with the homework they've done, that it's the best opportunity for them, which is a totally different era than it was 10 or 12 or 15 or 30 years ago. So we've got to adapt in the chairs we are as coaches, because the players have opportunities that hopefully we can be part of those opportunities going forward with some of those retention things.
Did not know that was your policy. If you're
Yes.
in the portal, you're no longer in an EAG.
Yes.
Okay. On a lighter note.
Oh, that was still light.
Yeah,
That was
I
still
guess
light.
that maybe that was an unfair transition. It's just a really light question next, I
Yeah,
guess is what
yeah.
I meant. So you got the damn cup.
Mm-hmm.
You wanted the damn cup. You said that.
Coveted the damn cup, not just wanted it.
Moving forward, it's Chisco next up for you guys. The Chisco rivalry is what they're calling it now,
Yeah, I
I
heard that.
believe.
Was it last year or the year before? Kind of.
Yeah, I think
Tab
this
that,
is like their, yeah.
Mhm.
Is there one name, trophy, cup rivalry that just would keep you up at night? Like, that one just means the most.
You know, I grew up, the Apple Cup was always my deal, the West Side guy, you know, I guess forced into, you know, being kind of a dog fan with, but I've never really been one cup or one rivalry game or one memorabilia given to the winner of a rivalry game person. I think they all have beautiful meanings. I think they just give the game a little bit more to play for. You know you're going to have it for at least a year, so that's a big deal. So you're not going to play for it the next week, which waters the competitive juices down. When you get to those games, you throw the records out, you throw the feelings out, you throw everything out and just put the ball down and play. I think it just takes on a different mind of its own sometimes when you're playing for something more than just a scoreboard. And without playing Portland State last year, they had it for an extra year because we skipped them in league play, but they beat us back-to-back years at home and on the road. And so it was important for us to get that back. There was only a few players on our team that actually were part of that Dam Cup piece when it first started. So it's pretty important, and we try to educate the guys on what it is, because some of the freshmen had no idea, and that's on us to express what that idea was and the concept of how we get it done, and we did enough to get it done. So it's glowing in the football foyer right now. So those guys walk in and out of the locker room, they see it going in, they see it going out. It's a pretty big deal.
There you go. Well, thank you so much for your time, Aaron. It's nice to get to know you a little bit better, and excited to see how the rest of the season goes.
Thanks, AJ. Appreciate it.